Colonel John Kane's B-24 went right through one such funnel of fire.
When the 98th came in, Kane turned at his proper place, went to his proper target, but he found his target was already in flames. And instead of aborting it, he said, we're going to go on, stay on our course and just go in and go according to plan. So he brought his planes right in through the smoke and through the fire, and bombs were exploding, planes were going through. Out of the 98, he lost 22 aircraft. So that's out of 40, 50 planes, he lost 22 alone.
Last into Ploesti came the 389th Bomb Group. Smoke and fire almost totally obscured their targets, but still they clung to their mission. Wrote Captain Philip Ardrey, a squadron leader in the 389th, already the flames were leaping higher than the level of our approach, and there were intermittent explosions lighting up the black pall. A gauntlet of tracers and cannon fire of all types made me despair of ever covering those last few hundred yards. Ardrey's wingman, Lieutenant Hughes, was hit in the left wing. From a gaping hole, fuel began gushing out. An instant later, the torrent caught fire and a tongue of flame blasted back from the wing and totally engulfed the fuselage and tail. Hughes held his Liberator on course. Soon the entire left wing was ablaze. The B-24 had only seconds to live, but Hughes' bombardier released their bombs, scoring direct hits on the refinery. The bomber came off target and Hughes turned for a nearby river, hoping to save his crew. But the plane began sagging toward the ground, and as they came to the river, Hughes was forced to try to climb over a bridge. The Liberator had no life left, and the maneuver caused it to pitch over and cartwheel across the river's muddy bank. With the 389th's attack complete, all of the B-24s were now racing for home, but they would not escape unharmed. Hundreds of German interceptors waded into them, and the exhausted gunners fought with all the intensity of trapped animals. It was not enough. More and more B-24s smacked into the Balkans countryside, leaving a trail of burning wreckage from Ploesti all the way through Yugoslavia. 73 B-24s went down on this Ploesti raid, 50 alone over enemy territory. Another 55 were damaged. Over 500 American airmen were killed or wounded. About another 100 were captured. 5 men, including Hughes and Kane, received the Medal of Honor.
This raid over Ploesti really demonstrated the courage and the dedication that the American airmen involved in the mission possessed. And that did not go unrecognized by the high command in the Mediterranean. And in the end, there were 5 airmen on that mission who were awarded the Medal of Honor, which is America's highest award for bravery. And there has been no mission since, and there was no mission before, that garnered so many Medal of Honor winners. It really stands as a testament to not only the bravery of the crews, but also to the difficulties and the harrowing experience of what it was like in the inferno over Ploesti.
General Brereton claimed 60% of Ploesti's production capability had been destroyed. In reality, while the destruction the raid caused had been heavy, Ploesti's refineries had not been operating at full capacity at the time of the raid. The Germans and Romanians mitigated the damage by bringing online previously unused sections of their facilities. Ploesti would go on pumping oil into the heart of the German war machine. Never again would the B-24s go in on the deck. For the next 2 years, Ploesti would be pounded time and again by the 15th Air Force's massive force of liberators. By the time the Russians captured the target, little was left but scorched and twisted metal. Far from one lightning stroke, it took scores of missions, 360 lost B-24s, and over a year to finish off Ploesti. In the meantime, to the airmen forced to attack it, the name Ploesti would be etched in their nightmares for the rest of their lives.
They knew that Ploesti was one of the most heavily defended targets in the world, not just in Europe, but in the world, with 128 millimeter anti-aircraft guns on rails, plus the 88s, plus the light flak, the medium flak, if anybody came back at low altitude again. It was an inferno. It was a cauldron. And we lost hundreds of bombers over Ploesti, lots and lots of men. And so to the crews who flew those missions, it was one of the roughest things they probably experienced in their lives.
The plane that the men rode into the inferno over Ploesti that day in 1944 stemmed from a late 1930s call by the U.S. Army Air Corps for another heavy bomber that could complement the B-17. Consolidated's Model 32 won the design competition, and on December 29, 1939, the first prototype took flight. Dubbed the XB-24, the plane immediately impressed the Army Air Corps. Fast, capable of carrying more bombs than the B-17 over a longer range, the new bomber had the striking power that the Army coveted.
A lot of pilots didn't like the B-24s, but I loved it. I just thought the B-24Ds and Es were just a real good airplane. You had to fly them. It wasn't like a 17. A 17, you know, was a floater. It was like a C-47 or such. It had a big wing, and the B-24 had what they called a Davis airfoil, which was a narrow wing. That you had to have more speed for takeoff and landings, while the 17 landed at a lower speed and so forth. And the B-24 carried more bombs than the B-17 and was faster than the 17. But the B-24 was built during the war for the purpose, like the Liberty ships. They were just for the battles, and after the battle was over, they got rid of all the B-24s. But I liked the B-24. I felt comfortable in it.
Indeed, the plane attracted so much notice that by 1940, both the British and French had placed large orders for it. Called the LB-30 in RAF service, the bomber initially served with Coastal Command, where it hunted German U-boats in the Atlantic. In 1942, the first B-24D variants arrived to join operational U.S. AAF bomb groups. With a max speed of 300 miles per hour at 25,000 feet, the Liberator was some 20 to 30 miles per hour faster than the older B-17. Its 4 Pratt & Whitney R-1830 twin Wasp engines produced a total of 4,800 horsepower. Ten 50-caliber machine guns protected it from enemy interceptors, while its mammoth bomb bays could hold up to 12,500 pounds of ordnance. At first glance, the B-24 appeared to be the